Hello there, and welcome to What's the Point? A question we should all be asking ourselves, and the podcast by brand architect Bill Ellis that will help you discover, clarify, and live your purpose.
Hello, and welcome once again to What's the Point, the podcast that helps you clarify and live your purpose. My guest today is all about that, and I am excited because he has some thoughts and some information that are going to directly touch how you can live a better life and live your purpose. With that, say hello to my guest, Alvin Brown.
Bill, this is exciting for me because we've known each other for quite a while. So I'm excited to always love hanging out with you, whether it be on this podcast or live. I prefer live, but we'll take this medium, and I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for carving the time. And as we'll talk throughout our conversation, you have so much going on. I'm very grateful that you found a bit of time. So let me give kind of an overview of why I'm excited to have Alvin here and who and what Alvin is. So Alvin Brown helps high-performing entrepreneurs and leaders show up more powerfully by optimizing their health, improving their sleep, helping them to develop laser mental focus, and balance their business and family life, all of which the goal is to reignite their passion for life. And as you've heard me talk, to ignite our passion, we have to know our purpose. So we'll cover that as well.
Perfect.
Well, Alvin is the CEO and founder of the Center for Healing and Peak Performance, a multidisciplinary health and wellness center located just outside Toronto, Canada, which is a city I love. Alvin is also an international speaker, a published author of a book that we'll talk about called Journey to Personal Greatness. But what he says most importantly, as a lot of my guests talk about, what's most important to him is his family and the joy that brings. His wife of almost 4 decades, Susie, they've got 4 children, and they are all amazing in their own way. So with that, I'll catch my breath and say thank you again, Alvin, for being here.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the intro.
So let's start with the title of your book, Journey to Personal Greatness, because I think that sums up a lot of who you are and what you do. And we'll get more into the book itself in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But what is really interesting to me is you've been on your personal journey to greatness for literally decades, since a very young boy.
Yeah.
So if you will, share with myself and the listeners a little bit about your life journey, because I know you didn't just show up in Toronto.
No,
it wasn't that easy. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, great questioning. And my beginning, Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, 1968. I was the 5th to a single mother.
So 5 children.
5 children. I was the 5th to the 5 children. Okay. 2 boys, 2 girls, 3 boys, 2 girls. And it was when you're there, when you're in that situation. I left when I was 9 years old. But when you're in that situation and you're around this, everyone's the same. You don't realize that anything's wrong. There'd be days going by when there's nothing in the fridge, and we can't make rent, and but everyone's like that. Everyone else is like that. And we moved a lot. We've slept in bar rooms, or nowhere to sleep at night, and there'd be days literally no food. But that was normal. It was only when I came to Canada that I started to go, oh, there's a problem here. There's something's different. Yeah. So that led me. And by the way, when I came to Canada in 1977, it was my mom and I. We had to leave my siblings in Jamaica with aunts, uncles, and whoever they stayed with. For 2 years we were here by ourselves. So imagine 1977, this young Jamaican kid, 9 years old, attempting to assimilate with the strong accent and just being different. And I'm in a town where I'm the only person of, maybe myself and 4 other families are the only person of color. And there wasn't any kind of, social, norms back then with racism and all kinds of stuff. I dealt with so many things coming into Canada. but there was that hope, the hope of things getting better. And I knew what the sacrifice my mom made in the 2 years alone from my siblings. And that gave me curiosity. That gave me a desire to not accept my situation. So that really lit me on fire. And I think that getting lit up from then kept me just hungry and going after my next level of personal greatness.
Well, you just used two really powerful words, and those are hope and curiosity. Excuse me. And when you combine those, you can go from a somewhat not misplaced, but just in a very uncomfortable situation, 9-year-old to the highly successful man you are today. I think that's fabulous. The other thing to talk about, at least my impression, is you were kind of getting the double whammy, if you will, when you went to Canada, because you were certainly something different to everyone in that province.
Yeah.
You were a person and a culture and a color and a language that they weren't used to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were completely abnormal from what you had grown up with. Yep. So people weren't sleeping in bar rooms, and so that was quite an adjustment there. I bet that gave you quite a lot of great experience that you've tapped into as you've grown.
Yeah. It really gave me a hunger, though, to why am I living? At one point, I got to looking at everybody else. I'm sure, here's the thing about today's world. One thing I realize is that, especially today with everything going on, I realize that everybody's stuff is their stuff, and to them it's big deal. So I empathize with other people because I realized that the stuff I went through was personal to me. You don't get anything more than you can bear. So I didn't really, at that time, I wasn't feeling sorry for myself or, oh, poor me. But when I started to look around at other people and go, why am I constantly living like this, moving into government housing? And we just never seem to be winning. And that made me hungry. How can I win? I wasn't brought here to be average. That's what I kept thinking. I wasn't brought here to be average. And I got to tell you, Bill, sports was my savior because that gave me an idea what winning felt like. It gave me goal setting. It gave me so many things that I didn't have a mentor, and it gave me that structure. And I got to say it saved me because I didn't think I would, where I am now, educational wise, I didn't think I would ever go beyond high school. No one's ever gone beyond it for me. So I had my bar set really low when it came to academics. It was, I just wanted to get out of school basically and get on with my life. I'm going to become an athlete anyways. I'm going to go to the Olympics, turn pro, and that's how I'm going to make my money. That's it. I don't care about any of that school. What's my goal in high school was, what is the minimum to not go to summer school? That was the goal. And I made that minimum.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
But what that points out though is having goals is important.
Oh yeah.
And you can substitute the word purpose for goal. So in school, your purpose was to do well enough to not have to go to school in the summer.
That was the goal.
Hey, that was the great time to be a kid, right?
Yeah.
So what sports did you play? I don't know. I'm going to throw two out and I may be completely off base, but just a gut feel. I'm going to say soccer or international football and boxing.
Okay. So one of them, boxing is on the money. See, I couldn't afford, and I was alone. I was a slight bit of a loner, I would say. Very small circle of friends. It's funny, I'm just learning more about myself as you get older. You learn more and more about yourself, but I'm really an introvert. Although when you see me online or doing it, whatever, I seem like an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert. I love sharing with people. But after that, I like to shut down and kind of be. So I didn't do team sports. I did things that was in my control. So I started with, and so here's a funny thing. I'm actually doing a speaking thing on surrendering. I grew up watching my brothers and sisters. They seem so tough to me. They seem like they fought. and they were older. And I said, man, I hate feeling fear. Am I afraid of fighting? Am I afraid? Am I not tough enough? So I thought to myself, my goal then, Bill, was to become the toughest guy around. So I got into wrestling in high school and did well at that. Then I said, I want more. So I went into, from there, I was looking for boxing because I was a big boxing fan. Couldn't find a club. So I joined martial arts. I got my black belt in Taekwondo, and I did well with it. I traveled in the world championships doing martial arts. And I think I got third in a tournament in 1991 in England in a world championship. So after that, though, I wanted more. So I got into boxing, and I thought I was going to become a pro boxer. I thought I was going to either the Olympics. I wanted to make the Olympics in 91. 91, if I made the Olympics, then I would go on and be a pro, because for me, that was my goal. But it didn't work out, but what I found was, these sports that I did just taught me so much about discipline. And it made me, Bill, when you just win one thing, one of the exercises I do with my clients is go back to create a you done good list. I call it a you done good list. And go back to the little league game you won. Go back to any win, because just what you want to do is grab on to any win, because we tend by nature to look for what's wrong. 10 things could go right, but we focus on the one thing that didn't go well, and we eliminate the other 9. That went really well. So I say develop a you done good list so you can go back and look. Geez, I won that trophy then. I did this, and build on those wins, because that's what I did. I built on.
First of all, I love the name of that, the you done good list. It doesn't get any more direct and understandable than that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say you were the best in the world. It just says you done good.
Yeah.
Which is great. So let me touch back on something that you talked about, because we have this in common, and that is that many people view us as extrovert because most people see us in a situation where we are communicating in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But what I've discovered after many years is that what makes an introvert and an extrovert is simply where we gain our energy from. So I can have good conversation and be social for a period of time, but I'm expending energy doing that, and I need to get quiet and alone, or at least smaller group to re-energize. And an extrovert is exactly the opposite. They are energized by that engagement, and if they're alone, so that's why so many extroverts that I know of have really struggled through this pandemic, because of the isolation that's going on. So that's just something that I thought I'd throw in there.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Very true.
But now I have to be perfectly honest. Part of my guess at your sports, and I'm holding up for those of you on YouTube, you can see it. Alvin's book, which I got a hold of probably a decade ago, is called Journey to Personal Greatness.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk about, because that book kind of sets the stage for a lot of the work you do now. And I love how the book starts, where you describe the difference between mediocrity and greatness. And again, those of us on video here, over your left shoulder on your wall, I can't read the entire, but it says, I'd rather starve on greatness than nibble on mediocrity.
Right. My daughter, yes, it did. Yeah. My daughter actually did it up for me, and she said, I'd rather choke on greatness than nibble on mediocrity.
Yeah. So it's slightly hidden by something else. But
no, you got great eyes.
Saying. So expand on that, because again, that sets the premise, I think, for your, not just your book, but your life and your work.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So when I was thinking about a title, I'm fascinated I'm writing my next book called The 4 Pillars of Greatness. So I'm fascinated with greatness. My clinic's called Peak Performance, and I'm just fascinated with how do we, Bill, get up every day and raise our standards for our life. I find that someplace in our life, I don't know when it happens, we lose a vision for ourselves. We lose this childlike desire to just get up every day and love life and attack it and create new things and with a zest, we lose it. I don't know when we lose it, different times possibly, but we lose it. And we just get up and get through life and just get, and I love Jim Rohn quote that said, don't get through it, get from it. And that's what's something that stuck with me. I want to get from life. I don't want to, Bill, I want to enjoy every day of this thing, because before we know it, it time's out. And I can't waste time on not enjoying squeezing the juice out of it. So when I thought about greatness, I thought, you know what, greatness, it's defined for everybody. Some people call Michael Jordan, they've got, different people as Federer, they've got greatness, different definitions, but what is personal greatness? And personal greatness, I wanted to throw that in there, because you don't have to be the top person. You don't have to be a Jordan, Kobe Bryant and all these people. That's somebody's opinion. But what I'm talking about is personal. What do you want? How do you want to show up every day? Raise your standards. It's just raise it up. We deserve more. We luckily for us, especially living in North America and all the freer countries, that democracy, you have freedom to choice. So take advantage of that. And so for me, personal greatness is about how do you get up every day, the average person, and just this vision of the future that you want to have. What do you see yourself at 70, 80? I've got a vision for me at 70 or 80 already. I'm in my 50s now, but I got a vision for what 80 looks like. And so I'm not going to get there with my fingers crossed, hoping, I'm not going to get there with please let it be this way. No, I love this term that we're co-creating our life, because there's a part of life that you can't control. Fair enough. But what about the other part that you can? What about let's say it's 50-50. Okay. What about your 50%? Are you taking care of that? Then let fate take care of the rest. If I take care of myself, eat right, and do all these things, and something happens, so be it. But I tell you what, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be enjoying that 50 that I got control of. So that's what personal greatness is about, is how do you get up every day, raise your standards for yourself, get a vision for what you want to show up as a person. What do you want to show up as in your business, your relationships, the entire life? How do you want to show up and stick to it? Renew your vow to yourself every day, because you will drift off course if you're not. Nature hates a vacuum, so something will fill it. If you're not filling it, it'll get filled by something, someone. And we all have also limited beliefs pushed into us from, if our parents didn't do the work to elevate themselves, we're going to get their belief systems, because they're going to put onto us what they believe in. And that's partially what we believe. It's, we have a choice to change it, but we're working on their paradigm, and we have to be mindful to change that, because that worked then, it doesn't work now, and it may work for them, it doesn't work for us. So, but that's what personal greatness is about finding your North Star, having a long-term vision for yourself, renewing your vow to yourself, and raising your standards.
Well, that's so well said and so well lived. I definitely appreciate that. And again, it's spot on with my talk of life's purpose and what that does for us. So in the book, there's a few things that I want to talk about, and I'll go in this order. Let's start with the trilogy of mind, body, and soul. Share your thoughts on that, please.
Okay, so mind. I've been in the health and wellness industry for 30 years. Started as a personal trainer. I wasn't thinking of any other. I just want to help people get better. That is it. How can I help you raise your game? Once I finished my athletic career, I was still passionate about how do I show up? How do I show up big? And I have unfinished business over here. So how do I show up big? And how do I help you to be your best? But I fell in love with anatomy, physiology, all those kind of things about us. And I was very touchy-feely. I wasn't believing energy and all that stuff. So I started going to work. But then intrigued me. What else is going on here? There's some other things going on. So that led me to study energy medicine, acupuncture, Chinese medicine. It led me to study Reiki, It led me to study therapeutic touch. Then I went into osteopathy, which is the main thing that I do, and manual therapy. It led me to down so many roads about us, meditation and mindset and NLP. And I got my degree in psychology. And here's a guy who thought he wouldn't leave high school, you know. But all of that led me to think, when people came into my treatment room, and I realized I could do all the mechanical things really well. So I could get your vertebrae in alignment, to get you functionally working right. But some people, many, hang on to the injuries. And I'm wondering, why are you still, I've mechanically fixed you.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? There's nothing anatomical left to, imbalances. Why are you still holding on? And I realized there's a piece to us. We are mind, we're body, and we're spirit. And we hold this meat suit, I call it, is a repository. It's a library of all our history. It gets stored somewhere in our bodies, because we're energy beings, as they say, having a physical experience. Mm-hmm. And all thoughts, and they say we live in a 96% dark matter and 4% universe. And anyway, so all of these thoughts, feelings, actions are energy, and they get stored. If you think about a thought long enough, it eventually becomes real. If you think about it long enough, it becomes clothed in physical form. So the physical body kept intriguing me, that people are storing things in their bodies in different parts. That chronic lower back pain, oh wow, it's related to this, and the neck pain is related to that. And I had a lady she is my teacher. She had a car accident 25 years ago. Unfortunately, her husband was in the car with her. It was fatal, and her son was in the back. He survived, she survived, but however, here she is decades later, still struggling. And I believe that struggle is housed in this energy, this negative emotion that happened at that time. For me to be truly healthy, Bill, I have to release all held traumas. I have to. Just think about it. For you to show up healthy, fully healthy, you have to be at peace. Your body has to be free of all holding patterns. And so I believe that 25-year ago accident is still being held because there was unfinished business with her husband, and it was tragic. It was sudden. And so it's very difficult to let that go. That means I'm also letting go of my husband. I'm also letting go of that memory. So this is what made me think, to be truly healthy, you have to combine the mind, free your mind, because the mind can't tell real from fake. If it thinks it's being attacked all the time by a dinosaur, it's going to set off your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, and you're always going to be in tension because it thinks it's there to protect you. It doesn't have any emotions. Then you have the body. How are you taking care of your physical body every day? We should move. This body here, it's not, you're not going to cross your fingers and it gets better. It has to move. And as age comes on us, we must be resistant. We must be pushing that meter. And then the soul is clearing your body of guilt, shame, of all the things that we struggle with, the being our authentic self. We're constantly on the path to figuring out who we are. Who are you? All these things that people told us that we weren't, or what we are. The goal is to get to where you know who you are. At one point, by the time we take that last breath, we should be in alignment with who we think we are and why we came here and what we came to do. So to get to really, truly greatness, I believe we have to sit down, take some time, and really carve out a comprehensive look at, how do I show up? Am I raising my standard? Am I taking care of my body every day? Am I being authentic to me? Do I take time out to, whether you're religious, you pray, or you meditate, or you whatever, am I doing that daily? So that's where the mind, body, and soul combination, I feel we can't have, because I've worked with people, Bill, who their bodies look amazing. I've been in the fitness industry working with these people for 20 odd years. Their bodies look amazing. But I tell you, go behind the screen, they're struggling mentally. I've been people who are blissed out on yoga, but they're struggling financially. So you really need to do your best to bring those three together.
And that's so true. And a lot of the times, at least in my experience, and this isn't to pick on any lifestyle or anything in any person in particular, but very often I find that we as humans use things like building a tremendous physique to kind of shield other internal parts of ourselves. We use education to shield other what we feel are shortfalls in our lives. And to address that, another part of your body of work is the 6 life essences. The 6 essences of life, and this is in no particular order, I don't think, but I am going to ask you to touch on them: mental, emotional, physical, chemical, material, and spiritual, which may not be last, but it may be one of the last things that many of us come to realize the importance of. So anyway, talk to us, please. Share with our listeners about the importance. What are these life essences and the importance of them?
Okay, so when I was thinking, great question. When I was thinking of these areas, mind, body, and soul, and when I think of breaking them down, so the way I have them, if you can picture in your mind, is you have the heading of mind, body, and soul. And in the subheadings under mind, you have mental, emotional, because those 2 are the essences of the mind, essence. And the word essence is just a fragrance. It's almost like it. It's the essence of it. And then the body is the physical and the chemistry. Because when I put chemistry, a lot of people, that kind of throws people off a little bit. But I put chemistry because I realize that food, once it passes your tongue, so we eat for taste, you and I go out, we love foodies, love taste. But once it gets past tongue, it now becomes chemistry. What's happening past here. And then the spiritual side, the soul, is the spirit. And I put material because I realize, Bill, that our issue with money, I'm going to say mine, and I realize it's a lot of other people too. Money is abundant. There's people out there with abundance of money. Money is not a lack. There's no lack of it. Here's where the lack is. You're feeling you deserve it. And that's what that was me. I remember making some money. The first time I ever got a real job and made some money, I spent the damn thing. The money was gone. And I got credit cards because I didn't realize until later that I had a money blueprint issue. Every time, no matter what I'd make, I would just raise my expenses to match so I could stay at a certain level of needing and want. And I realized, oh, damn it, I have a money issue here. And this is on a soul level. This is not on a physical level. There's lots of abundance out there. But if you're spending more than you're making all the time, no matter if you made 50,000, if I got a 10,000 raise, you make another 10, you raise your expense, you continue. Some people they went from 50 to 100, and they still feel the same. They still feel like they're struggling, the same as they were at 50. So it's not a money problem. So that's underneath the soul. And then obviously spiritual is how do you connect with your greater self. So that's the whole. And so if we break it down, so mindset, I have it down. And what do you do every day the exercise is, what do you do to govern your own mind? What exercises do you do or practice every day to make sure that you're putting in the input and not someone else? Oh, I'm just listening to the radio on the way to work, but that radio is talking about the gossips and the this and the that. Next thing you know, you're off somewhere else. So you're thinking of somebody else's thought. I spend my first hour in the morning, maybe 2 hours. Yeah, it's about 2 hours. So the first hour is about writing and reading. The second hour is working out and meditation. 2 hours are mine. And I make sure I get up early before the family, even if I have to sacrifice sleep, just so I could have those 2 hours. That's my connecting hours. So, and I put those in my mind because I know once I get out there, the day will get me and my schedule. But I make sure I center myself. And especially what went on recently with the pandemic, and it's still going on for some and many. And then emotionally, I journal, talk about shame and guilt. A lot of times especially as parents, you're never good enough as a parent. You're always struggling, so guilt and shame, you must deal with that. And I find a lot of times when I do neuro-linguistic programming is we make stories up. in our heads about how something went on. And typically our stories are, I'd say, a large percentage erroneous. They're missing pieces to the story, and we tend to paint ourselves negatively, and it didn't really go that way. Yes, the thing happened, but it's how you look at it. So that's how I take care of emotions and my physical body. I make sure every day I'm working out every day. I'm 7 days a week. I know people like to give credit for 3 days. See, for me, this is not a workout. This is movement. This unit was made to move. It's not working out for me. This is I get to. I don't have to. I get to actually move and move my body and sweat, and it's great. And then there's eating. I think actually being in the bodybuilding industry actually and the fitness industry made me realize how much food is manipulated to get a result.
Oh yeah.
Food is information. If you look at it that way, it's information. It tells your body what you should do with it. So what signals or what information do you want to deliver to your body? And it depends on the food, because in the food is that information. So I really care about that. And then there's the soul piece. I, again, meditate regularly. I got to tell you, meditation's been the game changer for me. It's been that distance between stimulus and response. You want a gap between stimulus and response, because if your gap's too short, something happens, you say something, and you can't take back words or actions sometimes that you do, but you want that gap. And meditation, I found, created that. And there's been a lot of studies, long-term studies on how it's great for the prefrontal cortex. So, executive functioning, it's great for memory, the hippocampus, and the emotional regulation, the amygdala, and so many things that it's been great for, that studies are showing. So for me, meditation is key. And then finally, the money piece, I've done a lot of work on myself with that accepting abundance and really respecting money, really respecting it, because I didn't. I figured I'll just make some more and whatever, but it'll keep you, Jim Rohn's quote, the borrower is a slave to the lender. So I just keep remembering that.
Yeah. So when you were talking about staying on the material and monetary side for just a moment, when you were talking about as my income went up, my expenses went up, it popped into my head the old quote that a rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Rising income raises all expenses.
It raises your lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, arguably raising your lifestyle, but in reality, it's limiting our lifestyle.
Yeah, true.
Over the long haul.
Yeah.
So all of this kind of comes together. And first of all, your book, Journey to Personal Greatness, is available wherever books are sold.
Yes.
It's one I recommend people get. A direct link to it will be in the show notes, as always, as will be how to get in touch with Alvin and his websites and all of the information about this really good stuff that Alvin's bringing to us. But when you get to your Center for Healing and Peak Performance, it's described, you describe it as a multidisciplinary center.
Yeah.
Expand on that, please, because if I'm not mistaken, what you've done is you've brought in several other practitioners in areas that are related to what you do and fit your 6 Life Essence model and body, mind, soul model, but are more specific to certain areas and elements of that. How does that all work, both for your, for your clients, but also in fulfilling the mind, body, soul journey to greatness?
Yes, great question. And so what I did was I had this vision that I've worked in my time in therapy. I started working for others, working under others and working for other clinics. And I saw how some, not all, how you can get into this role of treating people by time and by how much you can pay and by a insurance guideline. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want, because people aren't that. You're not a joint walking in or an injury. You're or a symptom. And I really wanted to step back from and create something where we are stepping back and listen to taking Bill's history Okay, so your back is hurting. Okay, let's go back and talk about what's going on. There's 360 joints in the human body. When you watch somebody move, it's a choreography. We don't realize that movement is a smooth choreography. I often I tell people, if I'm on a balcony at a play and there's 40 dancers on stage and they're all moving in synchrony, and the one falls somehow, or messes up the choreo, you always get drawn to that. Oh, geez, they totally threw me off the entire flow. Well, when you watch people move, if you're ever sitting in the airport or the train station watching people move, you can see that there's an interruption in their flow, because the body was made to be the body was made to distribute energy through it, nice and fluid, biomechanically perfect. And when things happen, you lose a lot of energy with every joint that doesn't work. Or so that's the way I don't, when people come into me and they ask me, do you treat a certain condition? I tell them I don't treat conditions. I treat you by listening to everything you tell me, your history, the history of the accident, how it happened, what did you do, how are you eating? Because inflammation in your body can be driven by your gut health. So it's this entire look. So everybody that comes on board with me, whether your discipline's a chiropractor or physio, they eventually all buy into this vision of this integrated approach to health. And I don't believe in hierarchies. So if you're a chiropractor, a doctor, you can't think you're better than the massage therapist or the this or that. I don't want that either, because at the end of the day, we're there to help the person coming in, and we need humility. And I tell you, the body will humble you. If you think you know everything about this thing, it will humble you. Because this shoulder pain that you came in and this thing I did work perfectly, I can't do it on the next person, and it humbles you again. So yeah.
Well, let me go back, because I found that to be an absolutely spot on analogy, excuse me, sorry, of looking at a dance line and one member being out of sync. Was just a great visual for me to then follow what you were talking about, watching someone's body. And an example in my own case was, for a lot of my life, I would just buy tennis shoes, sneakers, trainers. There's a million different names for them. But I finally decided that I was having some foot issues, and I went to a professional. I went to an actual shoe store where people knew what they were doing, and they said, just walk there and walk back. And boy, just that fast. He said, here's what's wrong with the shoe you have. Here's the kind of shoe you should have. And just from that, exactly what you said. So you mentioned something earlier that I find fascinating and piques my curiosity. Neuro-linguistic programming. Those are three distinct elements that come together. Tell me about that.
Oh, Bill, you're touching on so many great. How long is this podcast? All right, so so here's the thing. I love NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Here's why. We have 5 senses. Well, some will argue we have more, the gut and all that. But let's talk about the 5 physical senses. Those 5 senses transduces energy from outside. So the light energy, the touch is energy, heat is energy, and that gets transmuted, and the body takes an action to that. So if it's heat, it raises, it lowers the temperature. If you're outside and the light energy comes in, the pupil constricts to kind of, get you acclimated to that. There's so many things happening constantly. There's billions of bits of information going into your body every second. And it's always making adjustments. Your body, the temperature in the room, your body changes. So these 5 senses are how we code an experience. So think about this for a second. Every experience has a structure to it. So let's take throwing up, the first time you threw up. Well, you anchored yourself to whatever you threw up, whatever you're eating at the time. It now becomes the thing you can't eat for a while. But even the taste of it, the smell of it, the look of it, everything about it is now anchored. Those 5 senses code. So that means that our nervous system codes information. So if this is a phobia, or if this is a fear, or if this is, so the thought of something someone says is now coded. The way someone looked at you is now coded. The way someone smells is now coded. Someone was abused and the smell is there. We're constantly using the nervous system to code in our experience, and it gets into your nervous system. Language, our language. I can listen to somebody, if I put that hat on, my NLP hat, and we're in a session, I just have to listen to somebody for 15 minutes, and I know where this came from. I know where this narrative came from, your narrative about I can't afford, or, I'm stressed out, or so, because there's three things we do with our experience. We delete. There's so much, like I said, 1 billion bits of information coming in. Guess what the body's going to do? It can only focus on 7 to 9 things at a time. So it deletes a whole bunch, and it focuses on a few things. Then we distort. We distort it to make sense to us. Based on your experience, I distort what you just said to me based on my background. I don't know what you're talking about, but I can distort it to make sense to me. And then we generalize. With generalization, I find is really attributed to people who are highly stressed, because when my whole day I've been running around all day. Wow, all day, you must be tired. Oh, well, you know what I mean. I don't mean all day. Well, I know what you mean, but your subconscious is actually taking that in and saying, I'm running around all day, and I've been taking care of everybody. I just don't have enough time. Everybody, wow, you take everyone. Well, you know what I mean. Come on, you're being picky. I don't mean everybody. Yeah, but I know what you mean, because I got a conscious brain that lets me know, but your subconscious doesn't know what you mean. So their language is getting in their way. So if you got your nervous system, you get your language, then you're programming. How are you programming yourself? You ever see that winner's not a win? They're down, they're out, but they somehow come back and then just win because they're programmed to win. Then you got people who have all the resources to win, but they find a way to lose. And so it's their programming. So that's why I love this. When I was going through school to take psychology, I thought maybe I'll get my PhD or whatever in psychology. But I realized psychology, a formal psychology, they have so many restrictions because they're regulated. They have so many restrictions on them that they can't do this, they can't do that. And they can't, that they end up getting handcuffed into thinking. And I didn't want that. I wanted a bit more freedom in my thinking and not be handcuffed. So NLP showed up, and I really got into studying it. And I found it's a great, there's so many amazing tools in it, reframing and presuppositions and all kinds of, it's beautiful. It's an art.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and at least on the top line level, it makes much more sense to me, and I'm sure many of the listeners as well. So how long is the podcast? I know with you we could talk for hours, and I'm not going to do that to you nor to our listeners. But I just do want to point out to everyone listening that Alvin has so many resources available. And the simplest way to find him is probably just a Google journey to personal greatness.
Yeah.
Again, all of that will be in the show notes, but so he's got a podcast, Journey to Personal Greatness, where he interviews people like him that are very, very knowledgeable in certain fields that cover mind, body, and soul. He has a bi-weekly series called the Life Design Series, where he partners with Dr. Tom Hill, and they his friend, mentor, and coach, by the way. And they touch on topics that help you to design your life. So there's a lot you can look at. And if it gets to be too much information for you, if you just want to have a little bit something a little bit more casual and fun, Alvin's a great follow on Instagram. And I don't know, are you on TikTok?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
So I don't do the TikTok thing, but
pandemic forced me to get on there.
well, if you want to see some of this information delivered in a fun way, and you want to see some pretty cool dance moves, check out Alvin Brown or Journey to Personal Greatness on Instagram, and for those of you that do TikTok. Let me ask: you have so much going on You mentioned a book that you're working on, and maybe a couple of books.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up? What projects do you have that you want to share and make myself and everyone listening aware of? Because it's good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate, that whole, I'm going to quickly touch on this, that whole dancing piece. By the way, we didn't mention that I used to dance as well. I danced when I met my wife in high school, she was dancing. And I thought back then Herschel Walker, and I heard Bruce Lee and Evander Holyfield, they all did ballet. And so I thought, you know what, I need to increase my flexibility. I'm going to take dance. So dance turned out to be, I started competing with my wife, and then wow, they actually dance professionally. So anyways, dancing for me right now has been an outlet. When my mind was going crazy with the pandemic and the uncertainty and everything going on, I just found my creative side, I need to get on and just do. So they'll see that when they go on my my Instagram or whatever it might be. So now to the other question about what was the follow up?
What do you have coming up? Books?
Yeah, the coming up. Okay,
programs and such.
So I have 2 books. One I started working on called Cracking the Entrepreneurial Code.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that one I started working on a couple years ago. However, I was wanting more information, more to add to it, and that book was about my journey. When I wrote the book Journey to Personal Greatness, people kept coming up to me and saying, oh, I have this thing in my basement, or I have this thing I was working on and I haven't touched on it in ages. And so all these dreams that they haven't finished yet. And I thought to myself, I should do a book about how do you move from the dream state, because a lot of artists enter business and they don't know anything about business and they end up failing and giving up and losing a lot and giving up. So I thought, I'm going to create a book like me, from me, who I didn't know anything about business. I was not a business. I'm an artist. I just love to put things out there, but I hate the nitty gritty, the small details, which I found business and finances and taxes and so I wanted to create a book, Cracking the Entrepreneurial Code, about how I did, how did I crack the code to, now being 15 years in as an entrepreneur. And I say 15 because as a sole proprietor, I don't find that truly entrepreneurship. I find entrepreneurship, you really want to call yourself one, is a business you can actually, Bill can look at my business and go, you know what, I can see myself buying that and you're not in it.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what I find an entrepreneur, they can actually sell that business and transition. So anyways, that book was coming out, but I started to pause it because I really wanted to get into this idea of the 4 pillars of greatness. What are the 4 things people need to pursue their greatness? And I found the first one is clarity. What do you want? What do you want? And clarity is a dynamic thing. It's not a static. There's not a place you get to. It's always this thing you have to go back and, because what Bill wanted at 20, it's a lot different now than what Bill wants now. So that vision has to shift and again, raises standards for what does he see in 10 years for Bill. So the vision changes. So clarity is something you have to work on constantly. Go to your quiet space and take some time. And then the next one is courage. Once you know what you want, I made a lot of people ask them, what do they want? They say, I don't know. And I'm going to guarantee you that you are lying. You know what you want, but what's behind it is the idea that, oh, it's stupid. I don't want to, or I can't make any money from it. Or someone told me it wouldn't work.
Or I'll fail.
Yeah, everybody, or I would succeed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But when we're talking about people being held back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some people are afraid of succeeding. Exactly.
Yeah, because with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
And some people don't want that. They don't want the naysayers, the trolls so they actually dumb their dreams down. But anyways, it takes courage. So that's second pillar. Third one is commitment. Are you committed to see it through? Or if it's raining and you said you're going to go out and run, are you going to go out and run? And then the last one is consistency. Can you be consistent? If every day in, day out, can you drive? Can you be consistent with this promise that you made to yourself? Can you do it? Because I find so consistency forms the base. Because once you're consistent, guess what? You become more committed. Once you're consistent, you build courage. Once you're consistent, you get clearer about what it is. Because if you keep doing the thing, if Bill keeps doing this podcast over and over again, he gets clearer and clearer about what the podcast is about. When we first start, it's kind of like, I have an idea, but the more you do it, it starts to whittle away. And the more you show up and you go, yeah, this is what it's about. That's what this is about. This is why I'm doing this. And every time, the first time you hit publish to iTunes, it was like, I don't know. It's this courage to hit that button. But once you hit the button, it's like, it's out there. I'm committed, but I'm going to be consistent. Then the button gets easier to hit because you've just been doing it. So so that's the 4 pillars.
Well, that's great. Well, we look forward to getting that. And those 4 pillars of clarity, courage, commitment, and consistency. Again, just fit so well with my purpose principle of clarity. What's our purpose?
Yeah.
And again, we don't have a singular purpose necessarily. Sometimes we have multi-purposes with different things, but they evolve, they change because why? Our situation changes, life changes. So we have to have the clarity on that. And then for me, what that does is it ignites the passion that helps to deliver the courage and the commitment and the consistency. And consistency is wrapped up in my 3rd element of persistence. I mean, there's so much synchronicity between what you do and what I do. I appreciate it. So from a challenging childhood in Jamaica men to a challenging childhood in Toronto, to a very, I'm going to use the word content, not that you're happy with staying where you are, but you are happy in life, you are fulfilled in life, and you are driven to do more. So if we put all that together, and you should know this question's coming, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, the point is to raise our standards and to, what you just said, be happy with where you are now while pursuing what you're going to become at the end of the day, because there's no use delaying your gratification for that 20-year goal. And if you're not happy right now. So Bill, I'm completely happy every day. Mine. And you know what I love is that you can go and interview people closest to me and you should get the same answer. It should not be lip service. You could go interview my family and my kids. And if you're not getting the same answer, then I'm doing something wrong. So I'm quite happy daily.
Well, that's great. I may pursue interviewing your wife and your one daughter who is a professional dancer and just get their critique of your dance moves.
No.
See if you maybe need to knock some of the rust off of that.
That's right.
Alvin, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing such great knowledge. Everyone follow Alvin. He's a great follow. He's got great information. All of his information is in the show notes. Thank you, my friend, and continue.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I can't wait to reconnect, go have a drink together and chat.
Well, I look forward to that as well. And fortunately, things are shaping up that might be sooner rather than later at these points. So there's optimism.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We can promise you'll gain value in every one. Rating and reviewing makes us more discoverable and helps others find out what's the point. And if you'd like to know more about Bill Ellis or contact him, please visit his website, www.brandingpillars.com. See you next time.